Hi there, this is Sandra from the Schwowin's Nest. Welcome to my Holly Jolly Christmas series. Project number 1 today is some string trees. So I've got some twine on a spool and some aluminum foil and some plastic wrap. Using about a 12-inch piece of foil, I'm going to roll it into a cone shape and then cut off the excess and make the bottom as flat as possible. The cone should stand on its own. Using a long piece of plastic wrap, I'm going to totally cover up the foil. The plastic wrap is going to prevent the glue from sticking to the foil. You could also make a cone out of styrofoam or some cardboard. I just wanted to make sure that whatever I was going to be putting the string around was flexible enough that I'd be able to squish it and pull it out. Starting with a piece of twine, I'm going to just make a knot at the bottom of the tree, and that's going to just help secure it in place so it doesn't loosen up. Now all you have to do is just wrap the twine around the cone shape. You can go in any direction or pattern that you like. It doesn't have to be perfect. I actually like mine kind of messy and not perfect at all. So I'm just going to keep wrapping at the bottom, and then I'm going to turn it around and wrap at the top as well. Once you have enough twine, you can go ahead and tie it off. I'm going to be taking some Mod Podge, and I have it in a small bowl. I've diluted it about a third water to 2/3 Mod Podge. I want this to be the consistency of school glue. Now you can use regular school glue or any other white glue you have. You just need to make sure that it is easily spreadable. You want the twine to be able to absorb all of that glue. So you're going to put it on fairly heavy and make sure that you get every little bit of twine covered in the glue. I wanted this tree to have a little bit more texture and color, so I'm just taking some cotton butcher twine and I'm doing the same thing, wrapping it around, but I'm just not going to be putting as much on it. I still want some of the brown twine to show through. Once I have the look I like, I'm just taking the glue and I'll apply it to the cotton twine. Then I decided to add one more thin layer of the regular twine. I let the trees dry overnight to make sure that the glue was good and hard. Then I took the plastic wrap and the foil and I squished it from the inside at the bottom and very gently pulled it out. I wanted to add a little bit of a snow or icy effect, so I'm taking a can of hairspray and just spraying a strip of the tree and then putting some Epsom salts on top. I'm going to tap it down with the spoon and with my finger, shake off the excess, and then I'll give it another coat of hairspray, which will help the Epsom salts to continue to stick to the tree. I really love how these trees turned out, and I do have some of that white and black butcher twine. I just might give that a try and make a string tree from that too. The second DIY I have for you today is using some corks. So you'll see that these corks look a little wet, and it's a good idea to take them and put them in hot water for about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, just so they soften up a little bit. Then they're a little easier to cut, and they also won't crumble as easily. Altogether, you'll need 3 corks for this project. I've cut one in half, so 2 of the larger corks will be the body and the 2 smaller ones will be the head. Now I'm cutting some pieces of bamboo skewer, which will become the reindeer's legs. And if you haven't already figured it out, this is the reindeer DIY. Working with corks can be a little tough. They were giving me a hard time, but I did use the pointed end of the skewer and then just kind of twisted and pushed at the same time, and I was able to get them all in. I also ended up making a little pre-drilled hole with a sharp bamboo skewer, and then later on I ended up using a tiny little screwdriver, which made a much bigger hole and it was easier to put in. These skewers will become the legs of the reindeer, and I'm putting them on an angle so I can make sure that the reindeer will stand up properly. To attach his little cork head, I cut a smaller piece of skewer, made a hole at the top of the reindeer's body, pushed the skewer in, and then pushed the cork head onto that skewer. If you're out and about on social media, look me up. I'm on Pinterest and Instagram. So here's my little reindeer. He's standing up on his own fairly well. I'm going to embellish him now, and I'm using these little red pip berries for his antlers. So I've cut off a piece of two little pip berries, and I'm just folding up the bottom, which will be the little antler that is closer to their head. I'm still going to have to make a pretty big hole and push that in. It took a little bit of effort, but it was worth it in the long run because these guys turned out so cute. Last spring at our cottage, I actually went foraging, and we have some hemlock trees that give us these tiny, tiny little pine cones. I thought these would be perfect for the deer's tail and for his ears. Since their little antlers are red, I decided to give them a black nose just using this tack. My reindeer was looking pretty cute at this point, but I wanted to give him a little bit extra stability. So I've got these tiny little wood beads that are from the dollar store, and I'm just going to put some hot glue and then push the skewer into the bead, and that will become his little foot. I wanted the reindeer to feel a little cozy, so I decided to give him a little buffalo check ribbon for a scarf. I'd like to give a big thanks to Chelsea and Andrew, who gave me a huge bag of corks and were the inspiration for this little craft. Chelsea and Andrew are part of my extended family, and they have started the Happy Dog Homestead blog. Their dream is to be homesteaders, and they are doing a really fantastic job so far. They have some chickens, they've got a huge garden, they've got their pups Jasper and Duke, and they love to go canoe camping and do all things outdoors. They are also fantastic writers and photographers. So please go check out their blog. The link will be down in my description box. And here's how my little reindeer turned out. So I've got the reindeer, but now I need their feet. I'm taking this fine weave burlap and I'm going to cut about a 6-inch piece off. I'm going to fold it in half and then hot glue the ends together. I've been using those little pink silicone fingertips from the Dollar Tree, but you know what? They just don't fit. They're too small for my fingers. So I decided to just grab one of their little spatulas, and I'm using the handle end to place it onto the hot glue and prevent burns on my finger. It's working out really well. Now I'm just gluing the bottom ends together, and I made sure that the original seam was also at the back. Burlap is really hard to write on, so I decided to grab this little piece of drop cloth and I just cut it into a rectangle shape, and I'm going to take a fine tip black marker and write in reindeer feed. Then I'll simply hot glue the little label right on top of the burlap sack. To fill up the bag, I'm just using a little mix of green and yellow peas. This is just something that I had for a fall craft, so I thought I would just use it up. And then I'm just going to hot glue the bag together. I'm also just going to take a little bit more of that buffalo check ribbon and glue it onto the top, crossing it over in the front, and then adding a little bit of holly and some leaves. The final project I have for you is super simple. I have this little white container that I had from a thrift store. I've taken an egg carton just to give it a little bit of filler, and now I'm just going to take a little screwdriver and poke a couple of holes so I can attach these bottle brush trees. I'm going to just use a little bit of hot glue to hold them in place. I'm now going to add another smaller tree right next to the big one, but a little bit in front. While I was putting it in, I just wiggled the branches just a little bit so it would kind of wedge itself into the original tree. But I did end up having to add a little bit of hot glue to hold them together. Taking some of the Epsom salts, I'm just going to fill up the whole little container, and that'll just give the trees and that little egg carton a little bit more stability. It'll also look very much like icy snow. I really liked how this was looking, but I thought I would like to maybe add some of these little tiny trees as well. I'm just taking the bottoms off simply by sort of unscrewing it a little bit, and I'm not going to glue these little trees in place. They just sit there really nicely. I'm just going to poke them in wherever I feel like. I finally found this black and white cotton twine. I did have to get it at Michael's because our dollar stores up here just don't seem to have any. I'm going to take a length of it and wrap it around a few times on the base of the little container and then just tie a knot. And here's how he turned out. I think it's just adorable. I hope you enjoyed my Christmas minis video. I've got more coming up, so stay tuned. I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Those two black arrows will show you exactly where to click. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. Bye for now.